I don't understand why you're doing this, her voice cracked, echoing off the walls of the home they had built together. It was so long ago, it shouldn't matter now. She stood trembling in the kitchen, her eyes swollen, her hands clutching at the countertop like it could anchor her to the life slipping away. 16 years of marriage, 2 children, a house full of memories, and yet, in that moment, everything was unraveling. He didn't yell, he didn't throw accusations. Instead, he calmly folded another shirt into his suitcase. Silent, cold, collected, the kind of silence that doesn't beg for answers, it delivers them. His jaw was tight, his eyes heavy, but his resolve unshaken. She pleaded again, her voice sharper this time, desperate to pull him back. You can't just walk away. We have a family. We have history. You can't throw it away over mistakes I made before the kids were even born. But he didn't look at her. His hands moved with steady finality, zipping up the bag, shutting a chapter she never thought would end. On Reddit, she typed frantically, "My husband is divorcing me after 16 years because I cheated twice before we had kids. I thought it was behind us. I thought it didn't matter anymore. Now he's leaving me, and I have nothing left. Am I really that terrible?" The comments exploded with outrage, but what she confessed next made even Reddit say, "There's no coming back from this. We weren't always a disaster story. In the beginning, she was the girl everyone noticed the moment she walked into a room. She had that glow about her, the kind of laughter that drew people in, the kind of confidence that made you believe she was untouchable. And me, I was just the steady guy in the corner, hardworking, grounded, the one who dreamed of building a life brick by brick. I fell hard. She said she loved how safe I made her feel, how I was different from the guys who only wanted her for a night. I believed her. I wanted forever. From the start, there were signs, little things I ignored. The way she'd linger too long when other men complimented her. The way she brushed off my discomfort with, "Oh, stop being insecure. I'm just friendly." She thrived on attention. I told myself that was just her personality. That love meant accepting someone for who they were, so I pushed forward. I worked extra shifts to cover rent when she was in school. I sacrificed nights out so she could chase her dreams. When she wanted to finish her degree, I picked up double hours, smiling through the exhaustion because I believed it was an investment in our future. When we finally signed the papers on our first house, I thought we'd made it, the kind of milestone you only reach with trust and loyalty. I thought she saw me the same way I saw her, as her forever. But looking back now, I realized I was building a home on cracks I refused to see. For me, loyalty was a promise you keep even when no one's watching. For her, loyalty was only real if the truth never came out. I thought I knew the woman I married, but the first betrayal was already in motion. The first time it happened, it was framed as nothing more than a drunken mistake. She came home late, mascara smudged, voice shaking. She collapsed onto the couch and confessed through sobs that she had kissed, no, slept with, a coworker after a work party. She swore it wasn't planned, that she'd been drinking too much, that it just happened. Her words shattered me. My chest felt hollow, my hands cold. But as she cried, begging me not to leave, promising it was meaningless, I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. I told myself everyone makes mistakes, that real love means second chances. And so, against every instinct screaming inside me, I forgave. For a while, things seemed steady again. She acted sweeter, more attentive. I convinced myself that the storm had passed, that we had grown stronger. But storms don't just vanish. They wait, silently, for the next strike. The second time was no accident. It wasn't sloppy or drunken. It was deliberate. I started noticing little things. Her phone always face down on the table, late nights at study groups, even though her classes had ended, an unfamiliar cologne clinging faintly to her sweater. When I asked, she rolled her eyes. "You're paranoid. Stop being so insecure." Her dismissiveness cut deeper than the suspicion itself. One night, I saw the text, a message from a man I barely knew, a friend of a friend, calling her beautiful and thanking her for the evening. My stomach dropped. When I confronted her, she laughed bitterly, as if I were the fool. "You're reading too much into it. God, why can't you just trust me?" Gaslighting, that's what it was. She twisted the knife and then told me I imagined the wound. And for a long time, I almost believed her. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe I was just too jealous. But deep down, I knew. She had chosen him. She had chosen lies. And still, I stayed. Why? Because I thought love meant endurance. Because I thought marriage was about weathering storms, not running from them. Because I believed she would change. So I buried it. I buried the hurt so deep it almost felt like it wasn't there. We moved forward. We had children. We built a family. And I convinced myself that was worth more than my pride, more than my pain. For years, I smiled through the ache. I played the role of the devoted husband and father, while inside I carried the weight of betrayals that were never truly gone. I told myself the past was the past, but the truth doesn't stay buried forever. And 16 years later, the truth clawed its way back to the surface, and this time, forgiveness was no longer an option. 16 years. That's how long I convinced myself that silence was strength, that burying the past meant protecting the future. Our kids were teenagers now, loud and opinionated, the kind of presence that fills a house with life. From the outside, we looked like a family that had weathered every storm. To everyone else, we were steady, solid. But the truth has sharp edges. It finds a way to cut through no matter how deep you try to hide it. It happened on an ordinary Saturday. She was in the shower, and I was looking for the insurance paperwork in the desk drawer she always cluttered with old bills and receipts. That's when I found it, an old email thread buried in a forgotten folder. It was years old, but the words glowed like fresh poison. Last night was perfect. Can't stop thinking about you. And there it was, her response. Playful, flirty, undeniably hers. Not the panicked, drunken slip-up she'd painted it as. Not the harmless friendship she insisted I was overreacting about. It was deliberate, calculated, a whole version of the story she had rewritten to make me doubt myself. I sat there, the glow of the screen burning into my eyes, feeling 16 years of patience snap like a dry branch. When she walked into the room, towel wrapped around her hair, she noticed the screen before she noticed me. Her face drained of color. Where did you? I cut her off. My voice was calm, too calm. So it wasn't just in my head. You really did have an affair. She froze, then scrambled, reaching for excuses like a drowning woman thrashing for air. That was before the kids. It doesn't matter now. We've built a life together. We've moved past it. I shook my head slowly. No. I moved past it. I buried it so we could raise our children in peace. But you never owned it. You minimized it. You gaslight me. Do you have any idea what it feels like to carry that weight alone for 16 years? Her eyes welled up, her voice breaking. I was scared. I thought if you knew the truth, you'd leave me. I wanted to protect us. Protect us. My voice cracked for the first time. You didn't protect us. You protected yourself. You made me question my own sanity. You let me live as a fool while you controlled the narrative. That's not protection. That's betrayal. She stepped closer, reaching for my arm, but I stepped back. Her composure shattered into full-blown panic. Please, don't do this. We have kids, family. You can't just throw that away. But I had already thrown it away, in my heart years ago. The only difference was that now, I was finally ready to admit it. For the first time in 16 years, I saw our marriage clearly, not as a fortress we had built together, but as a house of cards I had propped up alone. Every lie, every dismissal, every "you're paranoid," was another card pulled from the foundation. And now it had collapsed. Her voice rose into a scream, desperate and raw. It was before kids. It doesn't matter anymore. I looked at her, and for once, there was no anger, no pleading, no second-guessing, only clarity. It always mattered, I said quietly. You just hoped it never would. And with just one sentence, he ended a 16-year marriage in a way she never saw coming. The moment the papers were filed, she scrambled to gather an army of sympathy. She called her sister, her best friends, even her mother, anyone who would listen. She framed herself as the victim, sobbing into the phone. He's divorcing me over mistakes I made before the kids were even born. 16 years, and he's just throwing it away. But sympathy didn't come the way she expected. His family had always been polite, civil even, but when word reached them, the dam broke. His brother was blunt. He should have left the first time you cheated. 16 years of second chances? You're lucky he stayed that long. His mother, usually soft-spoken, simply said, "A man can only carry so much weight. Don't act surprised when his back finally breaks." Her own friends were divided. Some tried to comfort her, saying, "It was years ago. He should let it go. Why destroy a family over something that happened before the kids?" But others weren't so gentle. One childhood friend told her flatly, "If you cheated twice, it wasn't a mistake. It was who you were." And he finally saw it. Then came Reddit. She thought strangers might validate her pain, might tell her he was overreacting. Instead, the comments were merciless. You cheated twice and gaslight him. You don't deserve sympathy. He carried your secret for 16 years. That's not weakness. That's loyalty you didn't earn. This isn't about what happened before the kids. It's about the foundation of lies you built your whole marriage on. The verdict was unanimous. She wasn't the victim. He was. Meanwhile, the husband didn't have to plead his case. His truth spoke for itself. Friends, co-workers, even casual acquaintances rallied behind him. You gave her 2 chances. She wasted them. No one can say you didn't try. For the first time in years, he felt lighter. Not because divorce is easy, but because he no longer had to carry her lies on his back. She, on the other hand, was left staring into the void of her own consequences. The home felt colder without him. The kids, old enough to understand more than she wished, asked hard questions she couldn't answer. And when she looked for comfort in the people around her, she found only judgment, disappointment, and silence. She thought the world would rally to her side. Instead, it watched her fall. But the biggest twist wasn't just the divorce. It was what he chose to do next with his life. When the papers were finalized, he didn't celebrate, but he didn't mourn either. There was a quiet relief, a release he hadn't realized he'd been craving for over a decade. The weight of carrying her betrayals, of pretending the cracks in their foundation weren't there, finally lifted. He poured himself into his children, not as a man broken by betrayal, but as a father determined to show them what love rooted in honesty looks like. He made their games, their recitals, their late-night talks his priority. They saw a version of their dad that was lighter, freer, more present. And though he was alone, he was not lonely. For the first time, he understood that peace comes not from clinging to what hurts you, but from letting go of what you cannot repair. She, on the other hand, sat in the silence of the house she once thought she owned through his devotion. She had gambled on the idea that his loyalty would always outweigh her lies. But now she was forced to confront the truth. Betrayal leaves scars that time cannot erase. Her reflection showed a woman who once had everything: family, stability, respect, and lost it all because she believed she could bend loyalty without breaking it. The lesson was simple but brutal. Trust, once destroyed, cannot be rebuilt on denial. Love cannot survive when built on secrets, and no matter how much time has passed, the choices you made will echo back to you. So, when she asked him quietly one evening, voice trembling, "Do you still love me?" he met her eyes with calm resolve and said, "I did, but that was 16 years ago."